Jordan Peterson is one of the most influential and polarizing public intellectuals of the 21st century. A clinical psychologist, professor, and best-selling author, he rose from relative academic obscurity to global prominence almost overnight. His lectures on mythology, responsibility, and meaning have reached tens of millions of viewers, while his interviews and debates have sparked conversations across political, cultural, and philosophical lines. But beyond the headlines and controversies lies a deeper story, a thinker obsessed with the question of how human beings can live meaningful, resilient, and morally grounded lives in a chaotic world. Whether you agree with him or not, Peterson's impact on modern culture is undeniable. In this video, we'll explore the ideas that shaped him, the psychological frameworks he teaches, the controversies that followed him, and the reasons so many people, especially young men, feel transformed by his message. This is not a defense or a critique, but an exploration. A journey into the mind of a man who has become a symbol of our cultural moment. Jordan Peterson was born in 1962 in Fairview, Alberta, a small northern town shaped by long winters and a culture of self-reliance. Growing up in this environment influenced his fascination with responsibility, discipline, and the psychological forces that hold societies together. He studied political science before shifting to psychology, eventually earning his PhD at McGill University. His early research focused on alcoholism, personality, and the roots of belief systems, especially how ideologies capture the human mind. These themes would later become central to his public work. Peterson's academic career took him to Harvard, where he became known as a demanding but deeply inspiring lecturer. Students described his classes as life-changing, not because he offered easy answers, but because he pushed them to confront the parts of themselves they preferred to avoid. By the time he returned to the University of Toronto, Peterson had already developed the intellectual foundation that would later propel him into the global spotlight. In 1999, Peterson published Maps of Meaning, a dense, interdisciplinary work that took him more than a decade to write. The book attempts something incredibly ambitious, to explain how human beings construct meaning using stories, myths, and archetypes that have existed for thousands of years. At the heart of the book is a simple but powerful idea: life is a constant negotiation between order and chaos. Order represents stability, tradition, and the known world. Chaos represents possibility, danger, and the unknown. Every meaningful action, from starting a new job to confronting a personal fear, requires stepping voluntarily into chaos and transforming it into something valuable. Peterson argues that ancient myths encode psychological wisdom about how to navigate this tension. The hero, in these stories, is the person who confronts chaos willingly, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for growth. This framework would later become the backbone of his public teachings. Peterson's rise to global fame began unexpectedly. A series of online lectures he posted for his students started gaining traction on YouTube. Viewers were drawn to his intense, passionate speaking style and his ability to connect psychology, mythology, and personal responsibility in a way that felt both ancient and urgently modern. But it was a public controversy that thrust him into the international spotlight. Practically overnight, he became a household name, praised by some as a defender of free speech and criticized by others as a polarizing cultural figure. Regardless of where people stood, the attention was massive. His lectures began selling out theaters. His YouTube channel exploded. Interviews with him reached millions of views. Suddenly, a professor who had spent decades quietly studying belief systems found himself at the center of a global conversation about identity, culture, and the meaning of life. This moment marked the beginning of Peterson's transformation from academic psychologist to worldwide public intellectual. In 2018, Peterson published 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, a book that distilled his decades of research into practical, everyday principles. The book became a global bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and read by millions. Each rule blends psychology, mythology, and personal reflection. Stand up straight with your shoulders back isn't just about posture, it's about embodying confidence and signaling to yourself that you're capable of facing the world. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping challenges readers to overcome self-neglect. Clean your room became a cultural meme, but behind it lies a deeper message. Start with small, manageable actions that bring order to your immediate world. The book resonated especially with young men who felt lost, directionless, or overwhelmed by modern life. Peterson's message, that meaning is found not in comfort but in responsibility, struck a chord. With fame came intense scrutiny. Peterson's critics argue that some of his ideas oversimplify complex social issues or reinforce traditional hierarchies. Others take issue with his political commentary, seeing it as unnecessarily confrontational. Meanwhile, his supporters view him as a rare voice willing to challenge cultural trends they believe are harmful or misguided. Peterson himself has often said that he never sought political influence, that his primary mission is psychological, not ideological. Yet his public presence inevitably placed him at the center of debates about gender, identity, free speech, and the role of tradition in modern society. These controversies sparked heated discussions across media platforms. Some saw him as a mentor figure, others saw him as a symbol of resistance, still others viewed him as a divisive force. Regardless of perspective, one thing is clear: Peterson became a lightning rod for broader cultural anxieties. Behind the public persona, Peterson faced profound personal challenges. His wife's cancer diagnosis, his own health struggles, and the overwhelming pressure of global fame pushed him into one of the darkest periods of his life. He spoke openly about his battles with anxiety, medication complications, and the emotional toll of constant public attention. These experiences humanized him for many of his followers. They saw not just a professor or a cultural figure, but a man confronting suffering with vulnerability and honesty. Peterson often emphasizes that life is suffering, not as a pessimistic statement, but as a call to courage. His own journey through illness and recovery became a living example of the principles he teaches: responsibility, resilience, and the willingness to face chaos head-on. Whether one admires him or disagrees with him, his struggles reveal a deeper truth: even those who teach strength are not immune to the weight of being human. Jordan Peterson's legacy is still unfolding. For some, he is a mentor who helped them rebuild their lives. For others, he is a controversial figure whose ideas provoke debate. But beyond the labels, his influence reflects a deeper cultural hunger, a longing for meaning, structure, and moral clarity in a rapidly changing world. His work continues to evolve. New books, lectures, and interviews show a man still wrestling with the same questions that first drove him as a young scholar: how should we live? What should we value? How do we confront suffering without becoming bitter or resentful? Peterson's impact will likely be debated for decades. But one thing is certain: he has sparked conversations that will outlast him. As we close this video, remember that understanding a thinker doesn't require agreement, only curiosity. If you liked this video, consider to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos.